Welcome to the Advanced Excel Training Program. In this video, we will first cover the overview of the basics. This will be a quick session as this program is directed to the advanced options of Excel training. The first question, what is Excel? Now, if I ask you what is Word, Word is a word processing program. The same way, if you say what is Excel, Excel is an electronic spreadsheet program where data has to be stored in the form of rows and columns. Now, I would ask you a question. Can you store data in Excel which is not within a cell? Now, if you take an example of Word, in a Word document, you can write wherever you want, left, right, center. There is no restriction for you. But when you're working in Excel, can you write data which is not within the cell? Let me give you an example. Right now, I have a sheet in front of me. Wherever you go, you are within a cell. My question is, can you write this information which is out of the cell? I would request you to pause this video, think for a moment, and then play this video. Okay, by now I'm sure you have an opinion. So, the answer is yes. You can store data which is not within a cell. For example, you have comments. When I go into review and I take a comment, the comment is basically stored above the cell. Now, since my version is Office 365, the comment looks a little different to the conventional comments which would appear in a lightish yellowish color. The same way, you have text boxes in Word, Excel and PowerPoint. The same way you have text boxes. You also have a text box in Excel. I go into Insert, Text Box. I create a text box. This information is not stored within the cell. This information is stored out of the cell. You also have word art. A word art is very common when you are working in Microsoft Word, where you would create a word art basically for the header of the page. But here also you have a header. Here also you have a text which is basically not within the cell. So coming back to the question, can you store data which is not within the cell? The answer is yes, you can store. But I would also agree with those people who said no, because this data which is not within the cell cannot be analyzed. Now you need to understand that why you are using Excel. If you wanted to create a document, you would simply create it in Microsoft Word. If you wanted to create a presentation, you would directly go and create it in PowerPoint. The sole reason why you're using Excel is to create an analysis. And to create an analysis, the data has to be stored within the cell. Now, analysis does not mean you're going to write some 3-line formula. A simple 2 plus 2 is an analysis. A simple sort is an analysis. A simple filter is an analysis, which means I cannot filter this information. I cannot do a pivot table on this particular data. Why? The simple reason being this data is not stored within the cell. So simple. If you want to analyze data, the data has to be stored within the cell. If it is not stored within the cell, you cannot analyze data. I will repeat, data has to be stored within the cell. If you have stored it within the cell, then you can analyze the data. If it is not within the cell, you cannot analyze data. And most important, you are not supposed to merge cells. In the later videos, I will properly give you an example where I will explain that you are not supposed to merge cells, because if you merge cells, you will not be able to analyze data in a proficient manner. Examples will be taken ahead.
Let's talk about the structure of Excel. Like a human body has a structure, Excel also has a structure. To use Excel efficiently, it is very important for us to understand the structure of Excel. So let's get started. On the top, you have Excel. One level down, you have a workbook. This word is very important. Workbook. When you work in Excel, you're working with a workbook. When you're working in PowerPoint, you're working with a blank presentation. When you're working in a Word file, you're working with a blank document. There is no new file. You can talk to somebody, you can tell somebody, take a new file, but there is no new file concept. The concept is workbook, or depending on the software you are working with. But if you're working in Excel, it is basically called a workbook. For example, in Excel, when I go to File, when I click on New, look at the word. The word itself says blank workbook. The same way, if you're working in PowerPoint, if you go into File and you go into New, it's a blank presentation, which means when you're working in Excel, there is no new file, it's called a workbook. Now I'm asking you a question. When you take a blank workbook, how many sheets do you get? I assume you must have also thought about the number 3. If you thought about the number 3, your answer is right. And at the same time, in this case, I have one sheet. Starting Excel 2013, whenever you take a blank workbook, you are given one sheet. But if you're working with a version which is below 2013, which is 2010, 2007, 2003, the moment you take a blank workbook, you're given 3 sheets. Now, I have a question for you. Imagine if you have 3 sheets. Sheet number 1, sheet number 2, sheet number 3. Sheet number 1 has my name. Sheet number 2 has the word Excel. Sheet number 3 has my last name. Now, I'm asking you a question. Suppose you want to send sheet 2, just sheet 2 to somebody else. My question to you is it possible? Can you just send sheet 2? For example, you shouldn't be sending sheet 1 and sheet 3. You just need to send sheet 2. Pause the video, think about it, and again play the video. I'm sure you have an opinion by now. There are various ways of doing the same thing. I wouldn't say you are right or you're wrong. Let me orally discuss those ideas. First, you could say that I will do a save as to this file, give it a new name, keep the sheets which I want, and remove the remaining sheets. Yes, that is a solution, but it's a very tedious solution where multiple steps have to be done. Option number 2, the sheet which you want to show, you will keep it, the remaining you will hide it. The problem is that if the opposite person understands Excel and if he unhides, your intention would not be met. Now, option number 3. First, I need to select sheet 2. Why? Simple reason. I need to talk to sheet 2. I need to send sheet 2, so this is important. Sheet 2 has to be selected. Now, for example, if I select these cells and I do a right click somewhere else, even my selection moves away. So for example, if I select these cells and I do a right click over these cells, look at the options which I get. Cut, copy, insert, delete, filter, sort. But when I do a right click over the sheet, the number of options which I see diminish, because here you cannot do a sort and filter. A sort and filter can be done on cells, never on a sheet. The first option is insert. There is no intention. I do not intend to insert. Delete, no. Rename, no. Move or copy. The meaning of the word move is to cut. The meaning of the word copy is copy. Before this, whenever you saw these two options, they would appear in two different rows, never in the same row. But now when I click move or copy, I am asking you a question. Where are you right now? Are you in move or are you in copy? I'm sure you have an opinion by now. So the answer is that you are in move. Why? Not because move is written over here, but because the option create a copy is at the bottom and it is off. So if you want a copy, you need to click this button. If I click OK, what will happen? A copy of the same sheet will be created. So I do not want that to happen. I click create a copy. Now if I click OK, a duplicate of sheet 2 will be created depending on what option I select over here. If I say before sheet 1, that means it will be the first sheet. If I click sheet 3, the copy would be created before sheet 3. but this is not what I intend. So under to book, I will click this option and I will say new book, which means a new book will be created and the new book will have that particular sheet which I want. Now when I click OK, you see a new book is created, that is book 3. It only has one sheet, that is sheet 2, and that sheet only has the word Excel. Now I will save this file and I will email this file, and in that case only the content of sheet 2 will go to the recipient. Now I am asking you the same question all over again. Can you just send one sheet? The answer is no. Coming back to the structure of Excel, you haven't sent a sheet, you have sent the book. Just imagine, just take yourself 1 week back when somebody has emailed you an Excel workbook. To talk to somebody, you could just tell that person that you have sent the Excel, you have sent the sheet to check the sheet, but actually speaking, you can never send a sheet. What you have sent is a book. When the person accesses the book, then what does he get? He gets the sheet. This is as per the structure of Excel. Then one level down, you have range of cells. What are range of cells? More than one cell selected is range of cells. This is also a range. This is also a range. And the bottom of the structure is a specific cell. Every cell has an address. I will zoom. There you go. Every cell has to have an address. Now, I'm asking you a question. What is an address made out of? It is not row into column. It is column name and row number. I will repeat. Every cell has to have an address. It's the intersection point of the column name and the row number. There is no possibility that there is a cell but there is no address. I will again repeat. There is no possibility that there is a cell but there is no address. If there is a cell, there has to be an address, and the address is the intersection point of the column name and the row number.